Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cropper here. An important question has been raised by an assertion in a text comment, and I don't remember where it was, but it was by Fat German Bastard. That's the YouTube username. His fault, not mine, it's his name. And he says that no one ever knowingly acts irrationally. Now we're going to get a definition of reason here in just a moment from OPAR, Objectivism, the Philosophy of Ayn Rand. But let's parse his terms there. Nobody knowingly acts irrationally. In other words, every single action ever taken anytime, anywhere, where the people were in volitional control of their actions, all of those actions were considered by the person acting to be rational. In other words, anytime anyone does anything, anywhere, they will give what they see to be a rational justification. Well, let me just say, from the people I've met in my life, Fat German Bastard is giving a little bit too much credit to some of these people who wouldn't care, would not give a damn if you told them you're being irrational. That might even excite some of them, and not excite in a good way, maybe excite in an angry way. Okay? About 16 or 17 years ago, riding along in a pickup truck when I was a teenager with a friend of mine who was going completely emotional bonkers because we were throwing tires in the back of the truck, and one of them bounced up and broke the back window of the truck. Now all of us, there was a bunch of us there, there was a bunch of cowboys drinking and stuff, and it was not on purpose that anybody did that, but it did happen. And he got mad, not just at me, he started getting mad at everybody. Anyways, we're driving home, and he's yelling at me still, and I said, "You're being irrational. I didn't mean to do anything. There's no reason to be angry at me." And he said, "How about I hit you in the damn face?" Okay? Now, there's a person who does not care, and that was the last time that I spoke to him, except a couple years later he told me happy birthday, and I said happy birthday to you yesterday, because our birthdays were one day away from each other. Other than that, I never spoke to him again after that. So I think that when you meet these people who don't behave rationally, you should cut them off from yourself. But to estimate the entire planet as behaving rationally all the time is really bizarre. Now, reason, in case anyone wants to know the definition, Ayn Rand's definition of reason is the faculty that identifies and integrates the material provided by man's senses. Now let me give one more instance of someone knowingly acting irrationally. My brother, my younger brother, used to work in Taco Bell, and one day the manager was taking some food to hand out through the drive-thru, and my brother stopped him and said, that goes to the front, that doesn't go to the drive-thru. And the guy, in like a zombie daze, you know how some people are at work, people who hate their job and they don't last more than a week and then they are off to who knows where, but he's in a zombie daze, he won't listen, he keeps walking towards the drive-thru. My brother grabs his arm and stops him and says, "Listen, that doesn't go to the drive-thru, that's not their food." He gets away from my brother, goes and hands the people their food, and the people probably thought, we better get out of here before we see a fist fight or something, we better just take this and leave, whatever's in here. And they left. And they did not get their order, and the people up front had to wait for their order to be remade. Now there's an example of someone acting irrationally for all intents and purposes. You couldn't say that he thought he was being reasonable. He did think he was being provocative, probably. He thought he was going to make my brother angry, something like that. Maybe that was his goal. But you couldn't say that that's a reasonable thing for him to do as a manager of a Taco Bell, to hand orders out to the wrong people. Now, in both of these cases, my friend and this manager of my brother's, both of these people were perfectly able to cognitively understand the situation. In the one situation, there was an accident in which no one was at fault. And in the other situation, there was an obvious situation that had to be done in one way, namely the food had to be given to the people at the front counter. It was an obvious, very clear choice. And you'd either give it to the people at the front counter or you do something that you shouldn't be doing. And to say that they acted rationally in those cases is utterly bizarre. Let's use one-third historical bit. When Joseph Stalin was told that the German troops were massing on the borders from north to south, up and down, huge front, had been massing on the borders for some time, and then when he received the information that they were coming across the borders, shots were being fired, the Luftwaffe was in the air bombing Soviet establishments and Soviet positions. What did Joseph Stalin do? He threatened the people that were telling him this with imprisonment and being traitors. He said, well, I won't hear this stuff. You're traitors against the motherland. I won't hear this crap from you. He couldn't keep ignoring it for that long. But the evidence provided by his senses, no, he wasn't at the front line, but the evidence provided by other people's senses, and then they just call him on the phone or sent telegrams or something, perfectly valid real-world evidence, which in his case you hadn't ought to be ignoring. I mean, if his country is being invaded, then he really probably should do something. And he didn't. You cannot call that rational. Or how about Hitler invading Russia? Sure, he thought what he was doing was reasonable. Maybe, maybe not. I'll leave the Hitler bit out. But what Stalin did was not reasonable. What my friend did was not reasonable. And what the manager did at Taco Bell was not reasonable. There are, sadly, many cases of people who do not care about rationality. They don't care to give a reason for it. In fact, they're gleeful at the idea of doing something that's irrational. Especially if there's somebody there who's saying that's irrational, don't do it, that's irrational, don't do it. Ooh, I'm going to be irrational. And they do it. That happens a lot. So this is a bizarre case of psychoanalyzing things in people. It's a utopianism, a utopian idea of what rationality is. If you reduce rationality to nothing but volition, then it's true that people act, they never knowingly act irrational because you have to choose to act. But reason is more than just volition. Reason is volitional recognition of reality. It involves your choice. It involves your choice to focus. It involves your choice to focus on the facts of reality. Now, if you put it like this, some people choose not to focus on the facts of reality. That's obvious. There are some people who choose not to focus on the facts of reality. They make that choice knowingly. And then they act without regarding reality. And if you take it from John Allison, who's been seen speaking with Huron Brook and stuff, he's an economist. He was the head corporate guy at one of these huge national banks. Not one of the crappy ones, one of the better ones that didn't need government bailout money but was forced to take it. If you take it from him, he'll tell you that the one thing that makes most businesses fail is not facing the facts. People just saying things will get better, it'll take care of itself, I don't think things are really that bad, things are going fine. And he says that the companies that succeed are honest in the face of facts. Companies that grow and get rich and large are honest in facing what they are supposed to be doing at the time. Not what they planned to do and not what they imagined they were going to do, but what they're supposed to be doing if they want to survive, what they should do at this point in time. Most companies don't do it. The ones that do grow and prosper. And it takes honesty in the face of the facts, the power of facing facts. If you know that phrase from Orwell, I don't know where it was, I've heard it from Hitchens 1,000 times though. If you have the power of facing facts, you'll be better off in business. And some people don't have the power of facing facts. Now, Fat German Bastard might just say, they're acting irrationally, but they don't know it. Well, this is contradicted by many times when they are told, here's the reasonable thing, here's why you have to do it, and so on, and they still won't. So it's really obvious when you put it in these terms. Does anyone ever choose